Behold, at the end of the 500-year dark age, when the secret mantra has strayed into pun, when children do not listen to their parents' words in evil time, when relatives quarrel, when people dress sloppily in clothes of rags, eating bad, cheap food, when there are family feuds and civil wars, these provoke the Black Momo's wrath. These various demons fill 1,000 realms, sending sickness upon humans and beasts. Sky is thick with purple clouds of sickness. They incite cosmic warfare. They destroy by causing the age of weaponry. Suddenly they strike people with fatal Osiris swords, completely daring. They bring down hell and thunderbolts. Earth lords, Nagas, and Yanzir subjects, the eight classes, Devas, Rakshasas, and so on are your retinue. There is nothing that you cannot subjugate. Whatever sickness there is comes from your mamas. Whatever plague there is comes from your mamas. Whatever blood there is comes from your mamas. Please change the course of evil and sickness. I make this offering so you may be appeased by the Samaya substances, Amrita and torment, the offers of representations, appeasements, and practice materials. May the turmoil of the mamas be pacified. Be appeased, Samaya, through the blessings of appeasing you. For us yogins and our disciples, may sickness cease and plague be averted. Erase us from your chart of doom, put away your dice. Please avert sickness, stones, and obstacles. Please avert evil prophecies and bad omens. May the misfortunes of the Himalayas be banished to the right. May the misfortunes of the Shimaras be banished to the left. May the misfortunes of all minds be banished into space. Now is the time of great exorcism. Now is the time. Samaya, please perform the activities are requested of you. Overcome ignorance from beginning its time. Clouded by stupidity due to laziness, overstrayed from the path of omniscience. May the host of emanation Dalkides forgive us. Om Samaya, Samaya, Om Samaya, Taraksha, Kamaja, Ekajachi, Yaran, Kavayam, Joe. Om Vajasava Samaya Manapali Vajasava Tena Patista Durida my Baba Zudosh my Baba Subosh my Baba Rata my Baba Sarasita Maybe Achasara Karma Sucha May Chetam Shaya Kuru Om Oh Bhagwan Sauda Dagada Vadana Muchu Wadri Baba Maha Samaya Satwa Let's see, who else would like to lead us in a Mama chant? Inez, go for it.
Bio, at the end of the 500-year dark age, when the secret mantra has strayed into Pan, when children do not listen to their parents' words, an evil time when relatives quarrel, when people dress sloppily in clothes of rags, eating bad, cheap food, when there are family feuds and civil wars, these provoke the Black Mammo's wrath. These various demons filled 1,000 realms, sending sickness upon humans and beasts. The sky is thick with purple clouds of sickness. They incite cosmic warfare. They destroy by causing the age of weaponry. Suddenly they strike people with fatal ulcerous swords, completely daring. They bring down hail and thunderbolt. There is nothing that you cannot subjugate. Whatever sickness there is comes from you, Mamos. Whatever plague there is comes from you, Mamos. Whatever blood there is comes from you, Mamos. Please change the course of evil and sickness. I make this offering so you may be appeased by the Samaya substances, Amrita and Torma, and the offerings of representations, appeasements, and practice materials. May the turmoil of the Mamos be pacified. Be appeased, Samaya, through the blessings of appeasing you for us yogins and our disciples. May sickness cease and plague be averted. Erase us from your chart of doom. Put away your dice. Please avert sickness, dawns, and obstacles. Please avert evil prophecies and bad omens. May the misfortunes of the Himaras be banished to the right. May the misfortunes of the Shimaras be banished to the left. May the misfortunes of all Maras be banished into space. Now is the time for great exorcism. Now is the time, Samaya. Please perform the activities we request of you. Overcome by ignorance from beginningless time, clouded by stupidity due to laziness. However, we have strayed from the path of omniscience. May the host of emanation Dakinis forgive us. O Samaya, Asamaya, Hamsamaya, Trag Raksha, Kamandra, Ekajis, Nukamadaya, Bioja, Vajrasattva, Samayam, Anapalaya, Vajrasattva, Venopatsha, Drito Mabhava, Sutta Sho Me Baba, Supa Sho Me Baba, Ank
Anurakjo me
Me
baba,
Baba,
sarva
Sarvas,
siddha me prayacha, sarva
Sarva Karma
karma
Sucham,
sucha me chitam
Sitam
shreya,
Shreya Kuho,
kurohom
Ha
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 ha ha
Ha,
ho,
Bhagwan
bhagavan
Sarva Tata
sarvatagata
Tata
vajra,
Vajra,
amen
Mahi
mucha,
Muncha, Vajra
vajri
Baba, Mahasavaya Sattva Ah.
All right, Inez, that was awesome. Thank you. That that mantra at the end is quite a tongue twister, huh?
Mm, I'll practice it.
Ekajati Yinkarang Ja. Anyone else? Yeah, that was great. Anyone else give it a try? One more time, one more for the what do they say? One more for the something. Well, okay then. Let's go for it. In order that all sentient beings may attain Buddhahood, from my heart I take refuge in the three jewels. In order that all sentient beings may attain Buddhahood, from my heart I take refuge in the three jewels. In order that all sentient beings may attain Buddhahood, from my heart I take refuge in the three jewels. Whatever the virtues of the many fields of knowledge, all are steps on the path of omniscience. May these arise in the great mirror of in the clear mirror of intellect, my Shri. Please accomplish this. In the great mirror, without beginning and end or end, the great cosmic mirror. Good evening, welcome. Happy Dun season. How's Dun season going? Yay! Let's hear it for the Duns. Duns 5,384,221 versus me 0.
I keep trying to clear away those dun bunnies, but all I've been doing is shoveling snow for since I got back.
Oh wow, a lot of snow up there, huh?
A lot of snow, a lot of ice.
A lot of ice. Oh dear. Well, it's winter. It's real winter finally.
We saved a swan that was stuck in the snow in the Hudson River.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, it
Wow.
was a scene
Wow, where was that?
by Croton, and we called the
Wow.
police, and the fire department wasn't coming, and the people started gathering around, and finally, this teenage girl went to break the ice up, and then this guy comes in as a hero, and then I'm with the stick, and we got all the ice out so it could come out. So meanwhile, the mother, the wife, and my girlfriend were yelling at us for risking our lives. for, we were going to slip and get hurt, and our feet were all wet, but it was really nice. It was so beautiful that
That's cool. They're amazing creatures.
apparently it happens to them frequently.
They get stuck in the ice.
Yeah, because it gets real fast. It falls in, but there's still ice there, and it gets out of the ice, but it can't take off because it slips, and then it falls into another puddle because the ice was all melty,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
there were glaciers, and it would fall in the glaciers. So we just had to break it up, and we just walked in the water. So it's like almost not knee high, but close.
Wow.
Was it? Yeah.
Good for you. You're
Anyway,
good. You good Samaritan deed for the remainder of whatever the year we are in. This something year.
mm,
Okay.
Dragon, the last year, dragon.
The dragon. We're finishing up the dragon year. We're entering into Friday is the wooden snake year. Hopefully, it will live up to its name and shed its skin and be completely different
mm.
soon.
Yes.
And tomorrow's the worst done day, and then Thursday, neutral. Okay. Anyway, we are in the section on sustaining Mahamudra,
Yes.
which is sort of ironic because Mahamudra doesn't really need to be sustained, but it's like we're sustaining our experience of Mahamudra, right? So I think we started this evening's reading was on page 330. The vital points for these methods of sustaining Mahamudra, sustaining the essence of mind. So it's on the bottom of page 330. The explanation summarizing the vital points of those, which has 3 parts, beginning with the approach of not meditating with mental formulations. Leave your mental formulations at home when you go to meditate. Leave them in the drawer or somewhere else. To sustain meditation on Mahamudra, mind must simply not stray from the way of being, its natural condition. Simply. How simple. However that may be, the various reasons why the abiding actual abiding state is not something that can be newly fabricated through intellectual elaborations and then meditated upon have already been presented. However, I will discuss this a little bit again. Since the abiding state of mind has no bias, do not meditate with prejudice or partiality towards its manifestations, be they appearances, emptiness, awareness, or the like. So, neither happy nor sad that our mind is doing X, Y, or Z. No judgment. Since the nature of mind has nothing to be identified, do not meditate with any identification of something being so, not being so, needing to be adopted, or needing to be discarded. No commentary. My meditation is this or that or anything. Since the nature of mind has nothing to be ascertained, do not meditate with any ascertainment or reference point, such as letting some things go and retaining others. So there's no focus for our meditation. There's not a difference between focusing on this and not focusing on that. Since the nature of mind has absolutely nothing to transform, do not meditate with uncertainties and judgments, such as those involving hopes or fears. Since the nature of mind is nothing positive or negative, do not meditate with the fabrications of blocking or producing things. No bad, no good, no worse or better. Since the nature of mind has nothing to be focused upon, do not meditate with anything produced by a focus or effort. The impossible, right? To summarize, since the abiding state of mind has nothing upon which to meditate, do not meditate on anything. If you meditate, no matter what type of meditation you do, it will simply create mental formations, objects of meditation, characteristics, clinging, and fixation. It's not the sort of thing that you would bring up with a beginning meditation student, is it? And those are wholly unsuitable on the view and meditation of the abiding state, the sutra state. To meditate on Prajnaparamita means not meditating on any phenomena from 8,000 line Prajnaparamita Sutra. The Guhya Samaja observes, since there are no entities, there's no meditation. Meditating is not meditation. Since entities are devoid of entityness, meditation is unobservable. The Vajrapanjara instructs, do not meditate on emptiness, do not meditate on non-emptiness. The great Brahman Saraha says, if you have an attachment, let it go. He also observes, whatever you focus on will itself obscure liberation. And if the mind that thinks this is attractive takes that to heart and cherishes it, even pain the size of a sesame seed husk will cause constant affliction. The Shawara, Saraha says, his alter ego, the Shawara, with Mahamudra, where mind doesn't do anything, there's not even an atom's worth of something to meditate on, so don't meditate. For Rupa teaches, if we bring the abiding state to mind, fixate on experiences, or focus and meditate on suchness, we deviate. Whatever it is, you're wrong. Tulop advises, don't think, Hold the phenomena of the through. Sorry. Don't think. Behold the phenomena of the breakthrough. What is the breakthrough? That's a neat one. Maitripa says, other than settling within without distraction, there are no physical or verbal contrivances and no meditation. Despite saying, I'm resting evenly or I'm not resting, there's nothing to fix with a remedy and no meditation. By being undistracted right within the nature is necessary. Even though there is nothing to meditate upon that can be contrived by the mind, we still need undistracted mindfulness that keeps us from slipping into a typical, ordinary state. So the only difference from a typical, ordinary state in Mahamudra is mindfulness. Mindfulness that isn't mindful of anything. As long as we have not mastered familiarization with mindfulness, an undistracted mind on its own won't be able to distinguish between slipping into an ordinary state and not doing so. Therefore, we must have the mindfulness that is not distracted from the point of meditation for each particular level of the 4 yogas of meditation. At this juncture, we need to be undistracted from the connateness of mind itself, which was pointed out previously. However, as beginners who have not cut through our misinterpretations about just how things are, we should be undistracted right within the experiences we have on our particular level, such as those of the one-pointed mind. The great Brahman Saraha proclaims, Kye Ma, look, mind itself reveals suchness to itself. If your undistracted mind's looking slips away, your distracted mind won't realize suchness. You will lose the jewel of suchness in the thicket of objects. The Shawara Saraha says, Ke Ma, the undistracted mind looks at itself. That's a good one, right? That's sort of the essence of Mahamudra meditation, is undistractedly mind looking at itself. For Rupa teaches remain undistracted in a state not thinking of anything existent or non-existent. And Talopa adds, to be undistracted is the king of meditation. Maitripa says, other than settling within without distraction, ... There may be some inferior intelligence who have experiences. There may be some of inferior intelligence who have experiences of non-distraction and yet do not recognize that they are distracted from the nature of mind. We may wonder, what are those experiences like? Since the abiding state of mind transcends being an object of conceptual understanding, when your intellect and thoughts consider and pay attention to objects of conceptual understanding, you're slightly distracted from the nature of mind. Slightly is an interesting term there. Since the nature of mind is beyond being conscious, when your intellect and thoughts engage with objects that are cognized by the consciousness, you are slightly distracted from the nature of mind. Since the nature of mind is not an object of reflection or investigation, when your intellect and thoughts pay attention to emptiness, the unborn, and so forth, that are the objects of investigation and analysis, you are slightly distracted from the nature of mind. Since the nature of mind is not a reference point when your intellect and thoughts concentrate on experiences such as bliss, clarity, and non-conceptuality that are specifically used as reference points, you are slightly distracted from the nature of mind. In brief, since the abiding state of mind is beyond all forms of attention or mental activity, anything you take to mind that is contrived or produced by your intellect and thoughts, whether it is something with or without characteristics, is a form of attention or mental activity. Even resting with the idea, I will not do anything with my mind, creates mental activity and distracts you slightly from the nature of mind. The great Brahman Sarahas explains, when the stains of mentation are purified, there is the connate state. At that time, you don't encounter anything discordant. He also says, when mentation is no longer mentation, unsurpassable awakening is attained. For Rupa declares, if you engage suchness with mentation and fall into the two extremes, you will circle in samsara. Those are the roots of existence. Look at the essence of mentation, the basis and root of all. Not seeing anything by looking, and free from mental activity, you are certainly liberated. He also states, if you take something to mind, emptiness, the unborn, transcendence of the intellect, being beyond extremes, you will not dwell in the abiding state, but be rather far from it. The Shawara advises, look, do not look at anything. It's like a test, right? Look, don't look at anything. Meditate, don't meditate on anything. We may now wonder, what is a beginner within whose mind stream such transcendence of the intellect has not arisen to do? That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Although the fundamental state is, as just described, those of us who have not developed realization of that should, for the time being, nurture our experiences of and certainty in the connateness of mind itself. Which was previously pointed out. We should dispel the hindrances of strains and deviations at some point through the process of the four yogas. The unmistaken abiding state free from the intellect will manifest. We can know this from the analogies of the moon on the first lunar day, a lion's cub and a small child. And we know this from the explanations to come. Now, he doesn't explain those analogies. That anyone want to give a try? Like, what's the meaning of the analogy of the moon on the first lunar day?
I think it's just that it's just a little sliver and then it increases.
But I'm missing the. What is that? How is that an analogy for?
That would be reborn, fresh, new.
The moon is fresh and new, unborn, reborn. How is that an analogy for the unmistaken abiding state?
Just the fact that it's like you start out with just a little glimpse of it, not complete stability in it, and then it over time eventually increases to where it's the full moon.
Yeah, so I think to expand upon that just slightly, the idea is that even though on the first lunar day we can just barely see a sliver of the moon, we know the whole moon is there by virtue of seeing just that small little part of it. There's absolute certainty that the whole thing will come, even though we only see a little bit of it. How about a lion's cub? Anyone else? Has anyone ever had a lion's cub?
I mean, is it kind of the same thing that we know it's going to be a lion someday?
That is the secret. That they're all three are identical, right? So even though it's a cub, it's cute and like totally harmless, it's going to be a huge lion someday because it's a lion. And then same with a small child. So that's the idea, is that even though Cynthia.
Go ahead and finish your thought. I just wanted to ask a question before we move to the next section.
So the idea is that even though we're not able to really fully or directly experience the abiding state of the or the natural state of our mind, just by catching a glimpse, a glimmer of it, or having even an intimation that it's there, gives us the basis on which to proceed, having confidence that our true nature will eventually emerge, but that it is in fact there. And so it gives us the conviction that we need to continue, even though we haven't really experienced this, as he says, transcendence of the intellect has not arisen. Cynthia.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask, I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but in these two lists that we went through about the abiding state, the first one was on 331, where it talked about no bias and nothing to be identified and nothing to ascertain and no all that stuff. And then the second one on 334, which talks about some of these little sort of slightly distracted states. So I just was wondering, because it seemed like in the first of the first set, where it said the abiding state of mind has no bias, do not meditate with prejudice or partiality towards its manifestations, be they appearances, emptiness, awareness, or the like. Somehow that seemed like it slightly contradicted the quality of the second list, where it's sort of saying, if you're experiencing this, it's not quite right. So I just wondered if you have any thoughts about that.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I mean, I know that there does, I mean, it's sort of pervasive in these teachings that there is a little bit of a bias often towards the sort of naked state of abiding, as opposed to the state of abiding where there's, you know, you have your awareness, but there's still activity. There is sort of often a bias towards that. But when they explicitly say, well, don't worry about manifestations, it seems like it's just kind of a funny thing.
Are they maybe saying neither? One is kind of like a positive, one is more of a negative, but they're saying it's neither of those. Because it keeps saying a lot like that. Like it's not this, it's not that. Don't focus on me.
I mean, I think that, you know, it's a very helpful list in many ways, the second one also, but it just does seem to, I don't know if it's sort of just expressing that slight bias towards the naked, kind of naked Rigpa quality as opposed to the non-naked quality.
Well, it feels like the first list is like if you have any sort of proclivity toward content at all, you've missed the boat.
The first list?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny, because I thought the first list, I mean, like I said, the first one where it talks about like manifestations, do not meditate with prejudice or partiality. Is it towards, I don't know whether it's towards or against. I guess maybe they're saying only towards.
Do not meditate. So on 331, since the abiding state of mind has no bias, do not meditate with prejudice or partiality towards its manifestations. So not accepting, not rejecting, be they whatever they may be. And then
That's how I interpret it. Yeah, not accepting, not rejecting.
right, so this was sort of like the ultimate. And then it felt like he came back to like a more of a beginner level.
Okay, so you think it's kind of, I mean, it is the idea that,
I think he was doing that like he leads into the one on 354. He says, there may be some of inferior intelligence who have experiences of non-distraction and yet do not recognize that they are distracted from the nature of mind. We may wonder, what are those experiences like? And so That's geared more towards like beginner level. Like you're
Yeah,
getting
I
it,
guess,
but
yeah,
you're not quite there.
I guess part of it might be the fact that in the second list they talk about paying attention to these things, and so it might be that if things arise but you don't pay attention to them, maybe that's more okay. But if you're actually engaging,
So in the first one, do not meditate, do not meditate, do not meditate. Right? Each one is do not meditate with, do not meditate with, do not meditate with. So don't meditate on anything, right? And then in the second list,
including
when
anything needing to be adopted or discarded, right?
when your intellect and thoughts consider and pay attention is the first one. When your intellects and thoughts engage with objects. When your intellect and thoughts pay attention.
Yeah, so maybe
Your
it's that
intellect
the
and thoughts.
engagement and attention may be the key point, that if they arise but you're not engaged with them, maybe would that be consistent with the first list, do you think?
Well, in the first list, you're not meditating on them. And on the second list, you're not paying attention to them.
Yeah, so it sounds like the key is the issue of attention. Okay, thank you. Sorry to.
Yeah, it just felt to me like he was talking to people on different levels,
Hmm.
stages of experience. Like the first list was more like this is the ultimate. Don't meditate on anything. Don't engage at all. And the second list was like, well, when you're sort of getting it, but you're still paying attention in some way, then you're slightly distracted. What about Rob?
Could it be that you're slightly distracted by the fact that you are aware that you're doing this?
That's certainly one of them.
You know, it's that like we're sort of training to cultivate a silent watcher in a sense, and but noticing it is a distraction.
Yeah, I
It's
think
like I'm
so.
doing this now.
Yeah, because you're turning it into an object. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
turning
there's
it.
duality.
Dualistically apprehending. But it's interesting. Thank you, Cynthia, for bringing us to compare the two lists, because in some ways they're very similar. And so it's like, why are we repeating these sort of? There must be some nuance of difference that he's bringing out.
Right. Well, I mean, clearly they have a difference in that he's focusing on, all right, these are slight distractions, each one slight distraction, slight distraction. And so the question though is just, yeah, but I think it's, as I said, that I thank you, as I look at them all, the issue of attention and engagement seems like it's the most likely culprit
The culprit.
in terms of distraction.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, good. Let's see. Where were we? Top of
About to turn
page.
the page to the next section.
Thank you. So yeah, page 336 on the top. The way those two approaches summarize the vital points of meditation. What were the two approaches? Back on the page before, in the middle of the paragraph, we should dispel the hindrances of strains and deviations at some point through the process of the four yogas. The unmistaken abiding state free from intellect will manifest. You can know this from the analogies of so on, and we will know this from the explanations to come. But at the beginning of that paragraph, what is a beginner whose mind stream, within whose mind stream such transcendence of the intellect has not arisen, although the fundamental state is as just described. Those of us who have not developed realization of that for the time being should nurture our experience of uncertainty and the connateness of mind itself, which was previously pointed out. What's the connateness of mind itself, anyone? Let's see. Debbie, what's the connateness of mind itself? Blue and red.
Well, you're kind of
Big and small. Sorry?
I said you're kind of call on me. I can't give you a good answer.
That's it. Anyone else? Thank you. Chris, what's the connateness of mind itself?
It's the innate ability, Buddha nature.
It's the innate ability, the Buddha nature. It's
just there.
It's there. Who else? Who else? Thomas. The connateness of mind itself.
I don't have a good answer for you either.
That's it. Inez.
No concepts, no judgments, quiet.
Peace. That's good, thanks. Who else? Anyone else? Lori. Lori has unmuted.
Union of emptiness and clarity.
All right. Thank you very much. The connateness of mind itself. That mind is instantly and always the inseparability of absence of essence and luminous appearance of thoughts, sense experience, memories, content, as well as awareness, and that all of them are indivisibly one, right? The connateness of mind itself. And why is this being pointed out over and over and over again? Because we think they're different. It feels like they're different, right? It feels like there's all this different stuff going on in our mind. There's a subject and an object. And so what's being pointed out is non-dual, the non-dual state of oneness, that there is no separation of subject and object. The connateness of mind itself, that subject and object are born simultaneously and manifest simultaneously. Confusion and wisdom simultaneous. Anyone else add anything or subtract anything?
It's
Rob.
a constant dance, but there are no dancers.
Thank you. That's great. Okay, so having confidence, right? Certainty in the connateness of mind itself. How do we gain certainty in the connateness of mind itself?
Practice.
Practice, the same way of getting to Carnegie Hall, right?
It was those gaps and glimpses.
Gaps and glimpses, yeah. And how do we get, what provokes gaps and glimpses? We just read it. Somebody said what to do. It's right before this paragraph.
There were long lists. The beginning of what we're about to read is the non-meditation and non-distraction. And we just had all those long lists.
We did. There were a lot of lists. Sum it up in one word. Starts with an L, has 4 letters. It's not love. Anyone?
Are you talking about look? Look.
Look! Look at your mind. Mind itself does not exist. This non-existent mind is the great wonder of the variety of appearance. I think I circulated that at one point. It might have been in the last class. I should circulate it again for this class. It's this famous section in Sadhana Vajrayogini that's just so cool. That really sums this up. Look at your own mind. Mind itself does not exist. This non-existent mind is the great wonder of the variety of appearance. Mind is merely appearance. That mind of all sentient beings is the wisdom of great bliss, incomprehensible, complete non-thought, appearing as the nature of luminosity. for sentient beings of diverse aspirations, a variety of skillful means is shown. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll circulate that again. But looking, yeah, so looking provokes the experience of certainty in the connateness of mind itself. So the meditation practice is looking without looking at something, right? Meditating without meditating on something. But looking without looking at anything or from or to or on or above or whatever. Just looking until looking has no direction, right? Normally we look out, we turn it around, we look at the looker, and then it dissolves, and the looking dissolves. Okay, so now that we're certain in that, top of page 336. The way those two approaches summarize the vital points of meditation. What were the two approaches, by the way? That's interesting. What were the two approaches? Why being undistracted right within the nature is necessary. So back on 330 in the bottom, there were three parts. The approach of not meditating with mental formulations, and why being undistracted right within the nature. So those are the two approaches. Meditating, not meditating with any like contextualization at all. And then the second one is being undistracted within the nature. And then why those two approaches summarize the vital points of meditation. Non-meditation and non-distraction contain all the previously described methods for resting. It's in a nutshell, right? Non-meditating, non-distraction. Earlier in the text we saw a triad, a description of three nons: non-meditation, non-distraction, and non-contrivance. And they've sort of collapsed the non-meditation and non-contrivance into non-meditation. Not meditating on anything contains not reflecting, not thinking, not speculating, not contriving, not adulterating, not analyzing, and so forth. Being undistracted from the nature of mind includes freshness, looseness, one's own nature, the abiding mode, the fundamental state, and so forth. So you see, one is like a deflating of activity that normally would happen, non-meditation, not doing, and the other is not suppressing the natural display of the mind by being distracted, leaving the mind in its natural condition. So not too tight, not too loose. So the balance of not trying to control the mind and not letting the mind run wild. Leaving the mind in its natural condition without meditating is shamatha. Leaving the mind in its natural condition without meditating is shamatha. Absolute non-doing is shamatha. Not being distracted from the nature of that mind is vipassana. Looking non-distractedly at the mind that's not meditating. Non-meditation and non-distraction becoming of equal taste contains all the points related to unifying shamatha vipassana. In the sutra context, this state in which non-meditation and non-distraction are unified is referred to as non-conceptual wisdom. Non-conceptual and unmistaken awareness and emptiness of inherent nature. In the mantra context, it is referred to as connate wisdom, natural luminosity, and total emptiness. In this context, it is referred to as the connateness of mind itself, essence of mind, abiding state of mind, and the like. These, that is non-meditation and non-distraction, are a wondrous approach to meditative equipoise. The verses that summarize the Prajnaparamita Sutras states, sentient beings say, I see space. I love this one. Yet how is space seen? Examine this matter. Oh, there's so much space in your apartment, in your house, in your room. It's so spacious. I see so much space. So nice. The Tathagata taught that is how to see phenomena. So when you see lots of, you go into somebody's house and it's full of stuff all over. Oh, I see a lot of space. So much space. Right? Content is not obstructing space. That's the idea, I think. No other analogy can express such seeing. Those who see that way see all phenomena. If you can see space, regardless of whether there's form or not, that's the true seeing. The Samputa teaches, if you rest in non-conceptual samadhi, you rest without stains, like space. Space is not bothered by content. Space doesn't get upset if you fill up your house with all sorts of stuff. You don't have to bring in that Japanese technique of throwing things out. Space doesn't matter. It doesn't care. The commentary on Bodhicitta, which is a text by Nagarjuna, explains, the mind free from reference point rests with the characteristics of space. Meditating on space is described as meditating on emptiness. Space is the ultimate analogy for emptiness. The praises of the Dharmadhatu, also by Nagarjuna, says, once we abandon conceptions and what is conceptualized in the mind, the principal phenomena, we should meditate on phenomena's lack of nature as the Dharmadhatu. The principal phenomena is mind. The entrance to the Bodhisattva's way of life by Shantideva teaches once neither entities nor non-entities remain before the mind. Since there is no other form, there is peace, free from reference point. But what if they're behind the mind instead of in front of it? Anyway, the exalted Lord Atisha advises, in the Dharmadhatu, free from elaborations, rest your mind, free from elaborations. We can also refer to previous citations from texts by the Mahasiddhas. I will not elaborate more. What we should understand now as beginners is that since non-meditating is associated with shamatha and relaxing in excess, it can cause dullness. Right? If we have too much non-meditation in our shamatha, we fall asleep. And since being undistracted is associated with vipassana, and tightening in excess can produce agitation. So the looking of vipassana, if it's too tight, if it's focused as if we're looking at something, it produces agitation. We must know the ways to dispel dullness and agitation, the ways to sustain shamatha and vipassana equally, and so on, according to what has already been explained in the context of the general explanation of shamatha and vipassana. Now it is said we must sustain meditative equipoise in which tightness and looseness are balanced, as illustrated by the example of a Brahmin spinning threads. There are many related sayings, including this one from the exalted Gampopa. Don't create contrivances, rest loosely. Don't be on the lookout, rest freely. Don't do anything with your mind, rest without reference point. The exalted Pakmadrupa teaches, meditating on the intrinsic Dharmakaya is like a Brahmin spinning threads, rest loosely and uncontrived freshness. If any sullying faults occur, becoming stagnant where you rest or wandering off to what's to be let go, cultivate unification with the connate state. Regarding this, a certain person, the certain person, we have two certain persons. Certain person, A in this case, says resting loosely in uncontrived freshness like a Brahmin spinning threads is for them called Mahamudra. When I examine the meaning, I see resting and freshness as being the wool. Making that into threads is a contrivance. Therefore, the analogy is flawed. Oh, why did he have to say something mean? Couldn't he just interpret it his own way? And yet it seems that he is the one who is mistaken. He doesn't recognize that spinning threads is an analogy for balancing tightness and looseness. Doesn't understand the sense of freshness and doesn't comprehend that just a bit of such resting is not considered Mahamudra. That's an interesting, that last one. Just a bit of such resting. All in all, though, it's funny that these Tibetans are so caught up on this image of a Brahmin spinning threads, which does not exist in Tibet, right? They didn't have any Brahmins, and they didn't have any Brahmins spinning threads because there were no Brahmins, right, in Tibet. And it's this idea of India. Has anyone ever seen like these Indian yogis or sadhus? They have like a nose ring, right? And then they have a thread on the ring that goes like down, I think, to their loincloth or something. I don't know. Anybody ever looked this up? Be interesting to see what this is. The Brahmins.
So when you spin thread, you kind of loosen it and it bulges out and then you tighten it. Is that, I have to go look up someone spinning thread, I guess.
You have to keep the right level of tension so it doesn't bulge out. I think
Yeah,
it's the key.
Right. So you keep going back and forth to keep the tension right. Is that?
there is a sense of going back and forth. Let's see. Where are we?
Yeah, usually you'd spin thread for a reason. Maybe you're making rope or
Here's the spinning, right? Here's a guy spinning. And here's their threads, I guess. They wear it over their shoulder. I don't know. It's such a common analogy. It's sort of funny that they keep using it.
are they making something? Yeah, like rope.
Here, see this kid, he has this
Thread
thread.
is what cloth is woven from. So like
Yeah,
that's everything. I mean, anything that you wear that's like a cotton woven, uh,
Yeah.
not like t-shirts so much. Well, that's a little different, but like just a blouse or something or a shirt. It's woven thread, and so first they have to weave the thread, and then first they have to spin the thread, and then once it's spun, then you weave it together and make it into a cloth.
and
That's really cool.
it starts from wool off of a sheep, right? And the wool is like this bunchy stuff, right?
Yeah, I've done it a little bit. I've gone to these little workshops with when with kids you do these things.
Yeah.
It's not easy, actually.
Yeah, that's the whole idea is that it has to be like very delicately balanced and not too tight, not too loose. And yeah, it's a neat thing. Mary Beth, did you have something to add on this?
Well, I mean, just isn't there a yogic uh cleansing ritual that yogis would do that I think involved like swallowing that string and then pulling it back out again or something? Like
Yeah, they do.
me,
Yeah,
I
there is a
yeah.
that's right. They would swallow like gauze,
Yeah.
and bring it all the way down, and then pull it back up, and it cleans out all the phlegm and the stuff from your esophagus.
Are they referencing that?
I don't. Uh,
Some
I mean, it's
weird way?
possible that that's maybe what they then do with the thread, but they seem much more preoccupied with actually how to make the thread than what happens with it. But I
Maybe
thought,
that making of that thing that you're going to swallow and pull back up is,
it has to be
not.
done really carefully. Yeah, yeah. It's a practice in yoga called neti or something, right? Um, yeah, it's they do all sorts of neat cleansing things.
Yeah, I got something here. It says it's a sacred cord. It's sacred by the Brahmin caste, symbolizing spiritual status and responsibilities in the Hindu tradition. Different cultural rites, indicating commitment to spiritual practices.
Yeah, I have. Let's see. A sacred thread worn by Hindu Brahmin is called the Yajnopavita. It's a symbol of purity, long life, and divine
Ooh.
blessings. It's a thread worn across the body made from pure cotton, stranded thread joined by a knot. It's worn after performing certain rituals at a young age on the day of initiation, and it symbolizes sacrifice of anger and selfishness and so forth. So it's a big deal for a Brahmin. What is the thread of Brahmin? Anyway, okay,
Cool.
we nailed that one, huh? Get your Brahmin's thread. we should we should add like a Mahamudra program. We should sell like Brahmin's thread. Anyway, we were oh yeah, the certain person. Okay, towards the bottom of 338. Furthermore, the way to sustain meditative equipoise is as the exalted good Tsongpo Pa teaches. Look nakedly in your mind. Through looking, nothing is seen. There is no thing. Rest loosely in a state of non-existence. Rest without clinging, in sheer openness. When mind looks nakedly at mind, no nature of mind is seen at all, and there is no thing. Within that experience, leave awareness loosely in its natural condition, not letting that become a neutral state. So it could, when you're in that state of like looking without there being at or looked by, it could turn into this blank sort of state of mind. We are on now the top of page 339. So not letting that become a neutral state of blankness, rest with sheer mindfulness and awareness. Sheer. Without any reference point for this meditation, mind is open. Rest with no fixation or clinging to something to be blocked or something to be produced. That is a concise summary of the key points and is very well regarded. The methods for sustaining post-meditative attainment has 4 parts, beginning with identifying the mindfulness of post-meditative attainment. We may wonder, after resting at one pointed equipoise within the essence of the connateness of mind itself as our main practice during meditation sessions, what should we do during the subsequent periods between sessions? Here, at first we should arouse our exertion and train in continuous mindfulness and alertness, as the exalted Drikungpa advises. If you are skilled in mindfulness, you are skilled in meditation. My children, value your mindfulness. Moreover, in this context, being mindful of the object of mindfulness is primarily the experience of and certainty in the connateness of mind itself, the inseparability of the mind's empty and luminous nature, empty and content nature, which was previously pointed out. Nevertheless, there is a slight difference now. Within a moment of mindfulness that preserves the energy or light touch of being mindful of that spiritual practice, do not entertain any reification. Don't block or encourage anything with the thoughts that may suddenly arise with unsettling situations or with the vivid appearances of forms, sounds, and so on. This is like, for example, the mind of a small child looking at a shrine room with spacious, vibrant mindfulness that is lucid yet without clinging. Expand your mental scope and hold that. Interesting, he says hold that, but like spread your mind out and just take in a larger and larger panorama. And hold that, presumably meaning like rest in that in that expansive panoramic awareness, as Trump Rinpoche would say. In brief, sustain the spiritual practices of being mindful of the conateness of thoughts and the conateness of appearances. I think when they use this term, the conateness of thoughts, they mean the indivisibility of mind and thoughts. And when they say the conateness of appearances, they mean the indivisibility of mind and appearance, which were previously pointed out. This is explained in Shantideva's entrance to the Bodhisattva's way of life. What is seen, heard, and cognized is not what is negated here. Here what is negated is the idea of reality, the cause of suffering, the idea that there's something that we're actually looking at or hearing or cognizing, and that's the cause of suffering. How that mindfulness sustains meditation. So the first step in post-meditation was sustain your mindfulness. We may wonder, how should that mindfulness sustain spiritual practice? The analogy is the way skilled shepherds care for their animals. Although the animals move around easily as they graze, and they may even wander, the shepherds do not need to do anything arduous, such as herding them or chasing them. Simply not losing sight of them is enough to protect them. Similarly, here it's not that the manifestations of thoughts or appearances are rounded up and then stopped or made to vanish as if we are narrowing in on the true essence. He says on the essence of mind. Nor is it that thoughts and appearances are to be solidified in their normal mode by following them, getting distracted, losing the light touch of mindfulness, or attempting to prevent or promote them. You should have certainty as each and every object of the 6 modes of consciousness arises. Its manifestation is clear. It appears unobstructedly, it's clear. And at the same time, its nature cannot be identified because its nature is empty. Emptiness. Be mindful, aware, without grasping, that all thoughts are empty movements and all appearances are empty appearances. That certainty and mindfulness sustain thoughts and appearances just as they are, without alteration. So you don't need to rein in your thoughts, rein in your sense perceptions like that. If they get too much, they're going to distract you because they have no power. They have no essence. Wrong.
It sounds like it's imploring us to stop pretending that we are the author of these thoughts.
Yeah, the author and the reader.
Yeah, it's like these things are they're just coming up. They're coming up, and so if we don't get involved too much in the content, or if we try to suppress, or if we try to judge in any sense, it's like we're getting sucked into the drama, and it's asking us to not do that.
It's like we think that our thoughts are ours. And he and they are all saying those aren't your thoughts. They're nobody's thoughts. They're just thoughts. Nobody thinks them.
There's a
Nobody.
brain. there's a brain, and the brain thinks, or has this cognitive quality, but there's no part of the brain that's actually where you are. It's just a piece of meat.
That is the cool thing about studying the brain. Is for centuries they thought they were going to find like the seat of consciousness, right? And they were, for a long time there was this idea that it was the very center of the brain, and they were constantly like trying to sort of geometrically find the very center. And the pineal gland was like as close as you could get. I thought that was it, but anyway, yeah, disown your thoughts. The Exalted Good Songpa presents this in an easily understood way that captures the meaning. Whenever yet another thought arises, recognize its essence immediately and relax right into that. There's no doubt it's free on the spot. It doesn't cost you anything. Look nakedly at external objects. They are your mind, and like illusions, rest without clinging, right with whatever appears. So those are two different things, right? We have our thoughts. Each case we have our mind, right? And the mind experiences thoughts that are supposedly internal and appearances that are supposedly external. Most of us sort of get the first one, dealing with thoughts. But then appearances, like practice looking around at our world, and like this idea that our world is not separate from our minds, that our world and our mind arise simultaneously. Our world, our experience of the environment is a projection of our mind, or the environment projects our mind. And we experience mind and environment because of our karmic predisposition to experience the environment in a certain way. And we all find ourselves in this realm and have a similar perception of it because our karma is very similar. So we all have the same illusion. Something like that, maybe. But it's an interesting way to view your world. Maybe not while you're driving, though. Liberate awareness that's between those two. Thought movements are like breezes, not solid things, not clung to. Movements are fine. That's called thoughts arising as meditation. Recognize their essence and you're free from blocking and producing. There's nothing to meditate on, just do not wander. Be undistracted within a state of non-meditation. Practice simply embracing the 4 types of activities and anything else you do with the light touch of mindfulness. At first, as beginners, distraction will predominate. No kidding. That's a funny sentence. However, the force of arousing strong mindfulness of the essence of mind during meditative equipoise and relying on continuous mindfulness involving effort here in the context of post-meditative attainment will generate naturally occurring mindfulness. So we go from forceful mindfulness or mindfulness that we generate to mindfulness that's spontaneous. In the end, clarity emptiness and appearance emptiness will arise vividly. So clarity emptiness is mental content. It's emptiness and appearance phenomenal. Emptiness will arise vividly without any distractions, right with most thoughts and appearances themselves. It's funny how he says most. Are there some exceptions to that? If that seems to be hard to develop no matter what, it may be that despite your claims to have cut through misinterpretations about the conateness of thoughts and the conateness of appearances, you have not done so at all. Therefore, within the meditative equipoise of recognizing the essence of mind, again, cause any kind of thought or appearance to manifest and do what is needed. Investigate the origin, abiding, and departure of those manifesting thoughts or appearances and look at their essence. Practice as before by determining the nature of thoughts and appearances. This point is explained by the great Brahman Saraha. All phenomena designated by the intellect are empty in and of themselves, devoid of conditions. Imputations do not exist. When you know thusness, liberation in the natural state, nothing seen or heard, there's no such nature. He also says, know the singlelessness of what appears as self and other. Embrace that suchness without distraction, since even that torments the mind. Let it go. Torment. That's a little extreme. That suchness could torment us. Without any fixation, you can take up bliss. The alter ego of Saraha, as the Shawara, observes, in the same way all rivers, the Ganges and others, become of one taste in the salt ocean. Know that all analyzing minds and mental events are of one taste in the Dharmadhatu. Harupa teaches, thus all conventional phenomena, all possible appearances, have no essence. They're merely names, symbols, and imputations. So, in other words, re-strengthen, refocus your effort to understand empty appearance, the nature of thusness and suchness. The process of taking thoughts as the path. The exalted Gompopa teaches that there are three ways thoughts are incorporated into the path. One, as the impact of meeting. Two, as the after effect. And three, as non-existent fantasies. As the impact of meeting, this is presented from the perspective of those who are slightly familiar with post-meditative attainment. The analogy is the recognition that occurs when two longtime friends or relatives meet directly on the road. It happens immediately. They don't need to examine each other to decide whether it is that person or not. Similarly, the very moment a thought or appearance arises, it is liberated within the unborn mind. There's no need to examine it. Recognizing the nature of thought, immediately as the impact of meeting. The great Brahman Saraha says, in front, behind, and in all directions, whatever you see is suchness. And what radiates from mind is of the nature of the protector. Are water and waves different? The protector. Who's the protector? Maitripa states the various appearances and this essence of mind don't exist even at the moment they meet. This is Mahamudra. Okay, so secondly, as the after effect. This is presented from the perspective of those who are not very familiar with post-meditative attainment. The analogy is that of snow melting and becoming water when it falls on a hot stove. Excuse me. Or a lake. In the same way, even though when a thought arises at first, your mindfulness decreases and you are slightly distracted, if you then look at whatever thought or appearance arose, it will immediately be of one taste with the unborn mind. The great Brahman says, just like a crow flying from a ship, circles and circles and lands there again. Right, and this analogy, hopefully familiar, that like sailors would take crows or birds with them on ships when they're going on a long voyage, and periodically they'd let the bird, one of the birds, fly up, and if the bird flew up and didn't see any land, the bird would come back, nowhere to go. Just like thoughts, they have nowhere to go, so they would just come back and land on the ship. The Shawara teaches, just like a crow flying from a ship circles in many directions, yet returns Though the mind of desire pursues thoughts, it returns to the intrinsic original mind because it can't find the thoughts. As non-existent fantasies is the third technique for taking thoughts as the path. In other words, bringing thoughts into meditation. This is presented from the perspective of those who are very familiar with post-meditative attainment. We had a sort of a progression of degrees. The first one was not slightly familiar. The second one was not very familiar, and here is very familiar. The analogy is that of fire in a forest. While a small fire is threatened by wet wood, fierce winds, and the like, when a strong fire races through a forest, it is aided by trees, grasses, and fierce winds. Correspondingly, even when most of our thoughts and appearances manifest as unborn, again we should conjure up or arouse thoughts and appearances that weigh heavily on our mind or are very unpleasant. They too will manifest as the play of the unborn mind. That's an interesting way of testing yourself, when you're like experiencing a klesha attack, just like pile it on. Just like pull out all the firewood. Or when you're watching the news, just like go for like Fox News. Just like go all the way. No, not that. The great Brahman states, like flames spreading through a forest, know that all that appears before you is connate with emptiness, the root of mind. Maitripa teaches, mental afflictions are great wisdom. Like a forest for a fire, they aid yogins and yoginis. It's like Trungpa Rinpoche is saying, the more kleshas, the more wisdom. Mental afflictions are great wisdom. He, Maitripa, continues, appearances free in themselves are the Dharma Dhatu. Thoughts free in themselves are great wisdom. Non-dual sameness is the Dharmakaya. It's the embodiment of enlightened being. This point is explained in detail by the exalted Pakmadrupa. If you integrate thoughts into the path and meditate during 4 sessions, meaning the 4 sessions in a day, it is taught that your experience will be one of 4. The meeting of old friends, snow on hot rocks, fire consuming a forest, or bliss, clarity, and emptiness. So we just went through the first 3, and he adds a 4th one, and he's going to go through all 4. First, the meeting of old friends refers to when 2 close friends bump into each other on the road. They recognize each other immediately. Similarly, yogins and yoginis determine at the very moment a thought arises, it is their own mind, emptiness. That is called the impact of meeting. Second, snow on hot rocks refers to that snow falls from clouds, and yet as soon as it hits hot rocks, immediately it becomes water, instantly. Likewise, when a thought arises from a distraction just after it occurs, it is known to be mind. Without any effort, it is realized to be mind itself. Dharmakaya, free from elaborations. That is called the after effect. Thoughts immediately turn into Dharmakaya. Third, fire consuming a forest refers to when fire rages through a forest. Trees, grasses, sentient beings, clean ground, unclean ground are all consumed without any thought. No matter what happens, winds or hail, the fire doesn't die out. It is aided by all of it. We saw that in California, right? Oh my God, just like the fire, the heat of everything was so intense. And also in Hawaii, the year before, so that freak fire in Hawaii, and that like they said, the fire would jump across huge roads, like 150-foot roads or something. It was just like, phew. You would think you're okay, like on the other side of the road where there's no trees, and it was just the heat of the whole place was phew, really amazing, scary, right? In the same way, when the firestorm of realization blazes, all thoughts, good and bad, percepts and perceivers, the afflictions of desire and aggression, are consumed in the unborn state, without any adopting or rejecting, blocking or producing. The more thoughts, the more assistance you have for realization to arise. That is called non-existent fantasies. That's a hard one. You need, I think you need like a really good friend to remind you of this one. Like when you're totally freaking out, having a big klesha attack, then your friend like says, it's all just kleshas. And then they start bringing up other things, adding fuel to the fire until you just fizzle. You're just like, your mind just like totally dissolves. When realization is firm, mind is clear yet unimpeded, free from extremes. It is blissful, clear, and non-conceptual without fixation. Even being pricked by a needle arouses bliss. There's a famous Milarepa song that Kempo Tolton liked a lot. Something like, hurts so bad it feels good. Something like that, right? When there's no change, no matter what you do during the day or night, between sessions, walking or sitting, that is the fourth experience, bliss and clarity. They left out the non-conceptuality or the emptiness, right? Because it's empty, so they could leave it out. Just kidding. Those are the ways experiences occur. But like imagine that, like your experience of your mind is unchanging throughout the day, including your sleep. Wouldn't that be wild? Like you're aware throughout your sleep, going into dreams, coming out of dreams into deep sleep, and so forth. That's apparently what happens when you actually accomplish shamatha. You experience shamatha day and night, unchanging. Someday we'll do it, right? I think that's where we go to. Comments, suggestions, thoughts, appearances.
So I've noticed a lot of my dreams lately just make no sense whatsoever. There's people in them I've never met or seen. And so maybe that's the unborn, like all of it's just like nothing. It's just like, and I'll sit there. I was like, who the hell would bother analyzing this stuff? I mean, it's just
Yeah, just
total
total
nonsense.
meaningless. Yeah, total nonsense. Yeah. But it's funny that like you have phases where your dreams feel that way, like totally disconnected and unrelated, implying that sometimes you have dreams that seem like they make sense. But I wonder if those experiences where they seem to make sense are actually real. Inez.
Yeah. So are you saying that there's different types of thoughts, or like just a thought arises from the unborn mind, or then there's a thought arises from distraction and another thought that comes from that distraction? Like there's different levels of thoughts arising?
Yeah, there's all sorts of different types of thoughts. See how many you can come up with.
And they sort of, well, it's sort of like they're on trees.
Just
It could be
kidding.
like a tree of thoughts, you know?
Yeah, big thoughts, small thoughts, ticklish thoughts, funny thoughts, bad thoughts, good thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Are there different ways of classifying thoughts? In retreat, we had this text by Lojo Otae. Um, I can't remember the term he used. He had three types of thoughts, and one of them was like uh, fingering. No, oh, I should find it. I'll circulate it. But it was like some sort of like tactile thoughts, like palpable thoughts or something like that, which seem to be like thoughts as sensory experience. I don't know. And then I think there was gross and or coarse and subtle thoughts. But there's very little attempt to classify thoughts, as far as I can tell, in the Buddhist
Yeah.
tradition. They're
You know,
just thoughts.
I, I even found myself thinking three different things at the same time when I was meditating. When I was trying to calm down. I noticed I was thinking something, and then I heard a sound, so I was thinking about that at the same time, and then I was singing a song.
Multitasking, yeah. Yeah, there's different parts of your mind are doing different things, right? Many of us have like the song in the background like all the time, right? And yet you can still think of things even though the song, it's like almost like the radio playing in the background, right? Yeah, it's a fractured mind, just like the sense of unity, the false sense of unified mind falls apart, and all the different parts of mind just doing their own thing. Normally, we like our attention flits around from one part of the mind to another, and we're like, okay, our attention is on the mind that's doing this and the mind that's doing that. But sometimes, yeah, we can be aware of all of a few different parts of mind doing things at the same time. It's weird. What do other people think about their thoughts? Are you happy with your thoughts? Do you guys get along?
I'm happy that they're not that important.
Yeah, there you go. Happy that you realize that they're not that important. Debbie.
Well, I feel a little more positive about them than this reading conjured up for me. Because you may not remember how I said I feel like all phenomena is a manifestation of devotion.
Oh, yeah.
I feel this, I feel that all thoughts, the kernel of them, there's a kernel of the thought that is just a manifestation of connateness.
Yes. But so that's great. So do other people have this sense like that thoughts have like a kernel? Not like the military colonel, right? Not like Colonel Sanders, but like corn has kernels, or popcorn, it comes in kernels, right? There's like an essence to the thought, and then there's like the full blown, it goes all over the place, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so though we feed it with attention and emotions, then it pops. But
Yeah.
there's that kernel, and if you catch that kernel,
Ah, catch the kernel.
you
And
can
so the
say, "Oh,
kernel, Debbie said the kernel is conateness. So what about the rest of the thought? What is that?
Well, I think my thoughts, I think it, and I admit I'm strongly influenced still by Pema Chodron in
You
my
think
early,
her thoughts?
I wish. No, but
Could
I
you
think
think
that,
someone else's thoughts?
no, I'm saying my words to describe to you are influenced by words I've learned from her. But I feel that my, my thoughts have a core, a kernel of pure Buddha nature, connateness. And then because I still have an ego, then they get distorted and contaminated.
Ah, they emanate from the source and then they go astray. Yeah. So what's happening in that case? Anyone? Anyone else have that experience? I see a thumbs up. What's going on there? Daniel,
Um,
you're unmuted. Yeah.
this is Daniel. I don't know if it's applicable, but I heard someone once say that we have co-emergent confusion.
And how does that differ from co-emergent wisdom?
As ordinary beings, there's more confusion mixed with that kernel rather than, well, there's a lot of our samsara confusion imbued in the Buddha nature.
So as confused sentient beings, the ratio of confusion to wisdom in our connateness is heavily skewed towards confusion. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah,
And is the implication that Buddhas are like on the other end of that spectrum, or advanced bodhisattvas, they have way more wisdom compared to confusion in their connateness?
I don't know.
That's a good response. But maybe it's like, as confused sentient beings, what that means is that we tend to affiliate with the confusion side of the
Yeah,
co-emergence.
right.
Cynthia.
I was more or less going to say something like, it seems like what we're calling a kernel, which it sounds to me a little solid, but nevertheless, that initial arising, it's like either we recognize it as um, empty, or we don't. And that's really where you go to either the co-emergent wisdom or co-emergent ignorance. So most of the time we're probably missing it and going into the co-emergent ignorance side. But if, if we, as they were describing in those last few pages, if you actually see it and recognize it somewhat simultaneously, then you don't have to go into that confusion, right?
Yeah, well said. Thank you. But so it feels like there's a predominance of co-emergent ignorance because that's where our predilection brings
Yeah,
us.
our alaya vijnana is kind of full of that tendency, right?
Yeah, it's heavily habituated to go towards
Right,
ignorance.
exactly.
And but it doesn't mean that there's less wisdom, right?
No, the wisdom is there all the time.
Yeah, yeah. It's just we're on the other side of the equation.
We're just maybe missing it, by a hair.
Yeah,
You need
yeah.
that omniscience to see through
Where do I
the
get
other
me that
stuff.
some omniscience? Yeah. But it's funny, it has that feeling of like there's this potential of being fully present at the beginning, and then it devolves. And that happens all the time. It's like we're present. We can be present like for a second, and then we deviate. So I guess that's what meditation is for. I should try that. Anyone else? Thoughts about your thinking? Thinking about your thoughts? Is the is the narrator, the internal narrator, what do we call it? The voice inside. Is that the is that the thinker? No, it's not the thinker, Rob says. I think so too. I think it's not the thinker, right? It's just the narrator. There's a narrator, and then there's a music department that plays music, and then there's a department that's like paying attention to like if stuff's coming at me that I got to pay attention to. And then there's my thoughts. And what about
There's
the
also an
attention?
emotion. There's also an emotional center.
Yeah, there's like a mood. There's like a quality, right? It's like the set.
So you think the internal narrator is not just more thought?
It's it's not the thinker, is it? It doesn't seem to be the thinker.
What's a thinker?
It's the one that thinks.
Which is what? I mean, remember that little excerpt that we talked about a couple weeks ago from that uh, one of your old source books, where it basically said all this, having a view or whatever it might be, he thought all actually is just the alaya vijnana seeds. It's like when we say a thinker, what are we actually talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thoughts,
It's, I don't know, it's kind of like
the
a
thought,
common,
the thoughts are a product of uh, um, a natural expression of your intelligence, which is a brain function. And so, intelligence is uh, uh, um, the thinker is the voice of the intelligence.
yeah, it's kind of like a commentator. It's like what we just read is saying you don't need it. You could just rest in the awareness, but it's like it's the commentator of the awareness.
Yeah, so there's the internal narrator. Is that what it's called? The internal narrator?
No,
Somehow
it's
I
something
can't
else,
remember
but
the
I
term.
use the word narrator because I brought that up
Okay.
over the, yeah.
And and that narrator is talking about the thoughts, right? Right. So it's not the thoughts.
You don't think it's another form of thought?
I do.
It, it,
But it's like another type of mental experience, mentation. I think like we need to use a larger term. Like there's mentation, and mentation includes the internal dialogue. That's it, the internal dialogue, and thoughts about this and that, memories, um, and the attention.
yeah, but the cognition of something isn't the same thing as thinking, or the actual talking thinking. When you can know something without having to tell it to yourself.
Right. Well, there's the third skandha, the non-conceptual knowing of something. Right. And then we talk about it. And then we think about it, and we talk about ourselves thinking about it. Anyway, there's many, many layers of the onion. And Ez is going to wrap it up for us because we're over.
Yeah, I was just going to say another thing is that there are a few people having a dialogue at the same time, you know?
Yeah, the internal dialogue. That's right. We are talking.
Yes, a few of us.
Yeah, they. On that fun note, let us all pay attention to our mind. Look at our mind and dedicate the merit. By this merit may all attain omniscience, may defeat the enemy, wrongdoing from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. By the confidence of the golden sun of the great east, may the lotus garden of the Rigdon's wisdom bloom. May the dark ignorance of sentient beings be dispelled. May all beings enjoy profound, brilliant glory. Thank you, everyone. Great to see you. And one more day. Be careful.
Thank
And then
you.
Happy New Year. Take care. See you soon. Stop recording.